and above all, protect yourself at all times. Toca las manos. Gracias, gracias.
Cuban fighters who gets the punch and know how to slide in. And
Santa Cruz on the inside. There's a reason why, as Santa Cruz lands one left hook over the top. Unless, of course, Casamayor can dominate the rest of the round.
Win the rest of the round.
And I always do this when Smoker's in the ring as referee. It's the fighter who's in trouble, probably more chances to come back. Got out of the second round against Jermaine Taylor in Atlantic City last month.
Stopped that fight justifiably still.
Because of where the punch landed. But you'll see it between rounds. In front of his trunks. It translates to the brush across the target as he lands them. Santa Cruz landing a couple more solid blows, including a left hook that drove Casamayor back into the ropes.
Here you see Casamayor going down without really being hit with a punch on the chin or even in the body, just from actually blocking a punch and losing his balance.
But if you think it was an even round,
knockdown may have won it, but it wasn't a dominating round by any fighter.
You heard Rudy Hernandez between rounds telling Santa Cruz, don't try to throw your right hand. Casamayor circling to his left, towards Santa Cruz's right hand. Well, it'll be interesting to see if he warms up and cranks it up and manages to fight more like the old Joel Casamayor as the fight goes on.
People who want to watch Diaz have a very good point. Who wants to watch the champ, even if it is the champ?
Because if you haven't seen Juan Diaz out of Houston, Texas, he is a non-stop leather-throwing machine.
I look at Juan Diaz. He's exciting, he's active, seeing him regular, fighting good quality of fight opponents.
After a while, who's the champ if no one wants to see him?
It's entirely possible that Santa Cruz eliminates the question tonight. Went into Casamayor's camp for an extended period of time and served as a sparring partner for him.
One time, when you accept it, you got to realize that the fighters grow. At one time, they may have been a sparring partner, but
Santa Cruz had a good amateur career fighting for the United States. At one point, was east of Los Angeles. Been a lot of fighters in the last 10, 15 years who have come out his area.
Jim, I don't know. Joel Casamayor seems to me that it's that right hand of Mando Santa Cruz, which seems to be landing constantly. Look, if you're a judge, you don't really have to judge the effectiveness of a blow.
There, for a few seconds, he began to stand his ground.
Santa Cruz is throwing more shorter, straighter right hands than he was earlier. Accurate punch in the world himself, but
Casamayor was feeling the top of his head, looking for blood as... And Santa Cruz goes back to throwing his long, rangy, spider-like punches.
Tough guy to come back against after 13 months off.
No, and we were talking, lulled Casamayor into thinking he was going to have an easy night. When we asked trainer Joe Goosen yesterday if you listened carefully, the net sum of it was, yeah. And until a couple of weeks ago, he didn't look all that good.
Mingled and talked to people a lot of times.
Per round through 4, Casamayor only 7 of 39. Santa Cruz 14 out of 45 in this tussle. Still Casamayor trying to find space. And incidentally, the original Garden Ring was dismantled and taken to Canastota, New York. Square Garden, and Emmanuel, it's a little bit bigger than the old one.
It's a little bit bigger, and also I had the pleasure of going up and moving around in it earlier, and it's a tight ring. The floor is very tight, very hard, which I think in this case may favor Shane Motion.
This canvas is likely to have a masterpiece painted on it.
Sorry for that, Max. Beside the left eye now of Joel Casamayor. Wonder if one of Santa Cruz's right hands might have caught him up under the eyebrow. Can Joel Casamayor, after 13 months away from the ring, and put up a more credible show of defending his lightweight championship against Jose Armando Santa Cruz?
The most dominant punch right now in the fight for the last 3 rounds.
He was caught late in the fight, switching between orthodox and southpaw stance, and maybe Casamayor has that in mind.
Casamayor is not that much of a puncher.
He's
landing some shots.
That was a good left hand.
Yeah. Well, he's going to do that in spots. He's got a lot of savvy, a lot of trickery, and a lot of experience.
But Casamayor isn't doing anything to improve his own chances of landing something big.
And the way he's punching when he lands punches is very weak punches, and he finishes up clutching.
Max, there's a debate in the sport as to whether England's Ricky the Hitman Hatton
Look at you, 6 rounds to nothing. Jim, I don't know. Joe Casamayor is fighting a very, very strange fight. Not only is he holding constantly, he's running away. I mean, it's not, effective aggressiveness or anything like that. Puts him backwards. Santa Cruz is the cleanest, strongest shots. If Casamayor won a round fight, Jim, I haven't seen it. On goes Santa Cruz.
They're still working on that cut inside the left eye of Casamayor. He lands a good solid left hand over the top. Flew through the air and almost made it all the way to our announce table. It was one of those tantalizing arcs that you can watch only in boxing.
They started to put a little more mustard on those shots.
I think Santa Cruz is landing more of those straight punches through the center range. Particularly with the right jab from that position. So the amateur backgrounds where they fought a lot of southpaws amateurs.
Now Santa Cruz switches both ways, comes back to the southpaw stance. Remember, as Max Kellerman told you, he was in the middle of exactly that kind of switch when Diaz caught him.
Fastest and most coordinated fighter himself. He's a little on the clumsy side, so.
Floating around, followed by flurries here and there. Either one of these guys would have a tough time against the Baby Bull.
Do much more than what he can do, but he's doing already.
I think Rudy's thinking about David Diaz knockout against Jermaine Taylor when he was in serious trouble.
He eats a left and a right hand and disciplining his positioning in this round.
Yeah, and he's landing a lot of punches too. When he does punch, he doesn't punch hard anyway, and what little power he would have, he takes that away because he's trying to punch and get out of the way at the same time.
Dozen guys out there who are pretty satisfied tonight seeing him get his comeuppance, at least up to this point in the fight. A terrible fighter. He's had nothing but abuse to heap on all the people he isn't fighting.
He's trying to talk his way into a big payday. He's 36 years old, and as we mentioned, he's been off for over a year. This is not enough.
If you look, he doesn't really have a defense so much, and he does this. He hopes his head is out of the way.
Of Joe Goosen. There is no trainer who can make his point so effectively without raising his voice. Hey, 9, 10, 11, 12. You've got 4 rounds left. Now, for starters, you've got to win all 4 of those rounds. Then Joe Goosen saying to Diego Corrales in the 10th round of his first fight with Jose Luis Castillo.
For 10 rounds, finally he had enough. He got up on the stool and said, throw a straight left hand and we all go home. Naseem Hamed threw a straight left hand that round and everyone went home.
You remember, I was not supposed to be a corner. I was brought in as a cut man for that fight to help him. Did I have any ideals? But other than that, I wouldn't have said anything on it.
Goosen advice was Stewart-esque.
I also liked Emmanuel going berserk against Lennox Lewis.
And I think that in the corner,
hard left hand by Santa Cruz.
His legs, his timing is off a lot now. He slips very few punches. His defense is just hoping he's out of range.
And that's not real defense.
Yep. No, it's not.
Able irrationally to duck away from punches
and that is
pulling their head straight backward.
Yeah, and that is, he doesn't have that. And the head back, twisting their weight, stepping back with their legs. He don't have that.
A long left hand, throwing it from 3 feet away, and Casamayor just watching it land on his face.
He'd really be in trouble if he was in with a fighter that punched like Manny Pacquiao.
81, Magno Santa Cruz. I mean, Jim, I don't know. I gave Joe Casamayor round 7, but I thought he landed some nice left hands. But basically, in away and holding, Magno Santa Cruz landing all the clean, effective shots, mostly straight left hands and grip. There's no doubt about it. But if you're going to hold, just the hold so you won't get hit.
3 or 4 or some determined number of times in a round, you should start getting warnings and eventually points taken off. Although more than we've ever seen.
Yeah, but clinching is a part of boxing for tall fighters. And that yes. And it's a part of tall fighters boxing.
As good a job as Rudy Hernandez has done with this young fighter. I got to tell you, I don't think I would encourage somebody as gangly and long-armed and
gangly kid like this.
Championship, and at this moment, if the fight were to end right now,
low blows in the wake of Cotto landing 2 of them.
Well, I thought that the blows in the one, but mainly the last fight, which was Zabjuda, I make the punch straight low.
To me, that the expression on Cotto's face there was something to the effect of, could we at least start the fight before you begin talking to me about low blows?
I'm going to do whatever it takes to win a fight. So he's kind of playing right into Jack Mosley's hands with that response.
Mosley has referred to the low blow that Felix Trinidad famously threw in the 4th round against Fernando Vargas, seconds after Vargas had knocked him down with a left hook.
Trinidad, it did seem when he was hurt with by Vargas, it did look like that was obviously a low blow and a powerful low blow too.
And a purposeful low blow.
Yeah, and it was not an easy one to take neither.
And look at Casamayor leaning all the way back under the top rope and taking leather from the more active here's a look at Casamayor ducking back under the top rope.
This is one of the few times I've ever saw this actually happen in a fight. It happens in a...
Nevertheless, Santa Cruz seems safely ahead in the fight as we arrive at round 12. The linear lightweight champion, despite having been out of the ring for 13 months since his last fight with Diego Morales in October of 2006. That
champion of the world, especially when he hasn't been even known that much to a lot of the big fans.
And there were some in every division. That's a mess and causes great confusion. Of Lincoln Heights, California, will probably be in a position to call himself the lightweight champion of the world.
And Ron McNair scores it 114-113 to the winner by split decision. Joel Casamayor.